Continuing on with the fruit nuts, and also chestnuts do very well here. These would be swales, and the trees would be on the mound on the downside, so lots of swales to collect the water as it's going down flowing down this way. Down the bottom here we've got limestone rocks, and so the limestone rocks are restricting as to what can be planted near them. There's also quite a few gum trees which would, there's some existing ones which would be okay, but the easterly sun is here and the north goes up over here. So here's our north, and these swales and these trees would do quite well. They would need to be trees that didn't need constant attention, and we found that again the nut trees and the stone fruits do really well. The chook house, interesting, prior to the previous couple of owners ago had chooks, and they had them down at the barn where the stables are, and that's 500 meters away. I now realise that it is, if it's too far, you lose sight of what's happening. So having them close to the house, and then they could actually walk across into zone 1 if they wanted to. We also would install a woodshed here. Currently the woodshed is behind the house and you have to drive through, and there's lawn there, so just taking the wood out from over here, the wood pile, and bringing it out onto the road would then open up all this area to develop into garden and paths, which would be beautiful because it's quite a pretty view from inside the house with lots of windows. So heading on down to zone 3, so we've got quite a few limestone around here, so it would be also good grazing land for the cows, and we would like to get goats, so I would suggest goats. There's quite a lot of blackberries, a lot of tussock that isn't seen as favourable in these areas. As you can see, there's here are the rocks. We're heading down as well. Again, more swales. I know it's a little bit faint. More swales here, and I guess fruit trees. There's not as much sun because it is behind this hill, so it would have to be something that is tolerant to the cold and didn't need as much sunlight. So this, for me, zone 3, definitely grazing land, and it seems quite good for now. Heading across to zone, another one, zone 3. I've actually called it zone 2 and 3 because it has some beautiful slopes, and it does, over this side, it gets some of the north-facing sun. So in the morning, here's the road. This road comes down from zone 1 down around here, all the way down to the base of the property that's where the boundary is. There's a lot of opportunity for fencing in here, and definitely for putting lots of swales in, as well as more vegetation. It's fairly rich soil. I would be looking at an orchard, which would work very well as that there's no limestone in here. A lake down the bottom would be great because there's a beautiful contour that allows for a wall to go up here, and the rest really, it's pretty wide. There's a gully that does run through this area, and it does collect the water when there's heavy rain, so this lake at the bottom would do well, and the swales picking up the water catchment would be great. The outskirts of this I've got as zone 4, and again over here as zone 4. I have put in what potentially could be a zone 2 if it were a market garden. If it wanted to be produced, there's an opportunity here. It's a flat area, lots of, it can flood maybe once a year, once every 2 years, and rice would go very well there, or maybe a main crop, a main carbohydrate that would be able to feed the family as well as the areas. So opportunity, I haven't really explored it, even some vegetables, but because it's so far from the initial house, it would definitely make a great market garden. And there is a river coming through here, so the water's beautiful. You could use this water to feed the garden. And that's probably, I think, about it that I need to share with you. What I've noticed with existing, currently there's many systems on the property, yet nothing seems to be combined together. So looking at these areas and seeing how one can complement the other is something that hasn't been looked at before. So that would be something that each zone would feed into the next zone, and on a big scale or a small scale, it all helps. We do seem to have a lot of blackberries, a lot of tussock, and that would, with a good plan and looking to add different vegetation and different trees, it would certainly, I think, alleviate those what has been deemed as weeds. The houses, what more could I suggest? The water's great. A bore could go in to collect water instead of having to pump it. Otherwise, as I mentioned, a solar pump. And there are combustion stoves in every house. The solar, that's what I haven't mentioned. Currently we're off the grid, so we're all running on 3 individual solar systems. However, solar panels up here, a solar system, one solar system, and then inverting that to 240 watts to the closest house. Currently, all the houses have 240 volt wiring from a generator house, and the generator house is just here. So when we turn the generator on, it provides 240 volts via power points in all the houses, which is fantastic. But it uses fuel, and that's not something that is sustainable. So by putting new solar panels up here, that gets very good sun all year round. It's on top of the hill, it's fairly cleared, and it picks up the east and the west. There are some trees over here, but this would be ideal. One solar system, inverting it to this house, which then is tied into every other house. All the houses are tied in together. So that would be something that would make a huge difference, possibly not even require a generator again. Also, with all the running water, as I mentioned, we've got this creek that runs down this hill, and if you look closely here, you will see that there's actually a waterfall. So there's potential to harvest the energy from the rivers. The river's fair way from the houses, as you can see. It's quite a distance. I haven't quite explored that yet. There's been so many other things to explore. But there's certainly potential there, and because of the number of water catchment areas, that would be something that I would look at initially. And any houses, if any houses were to be built again, I strongly would suggest not a raised house. These are all on stumps, and they do attract the cold underneath, so something on the ground that has better insulating materials. The houses are made from cedar, pine logs, and more on cedar as well. So they're all from wood, and they all have their own heating, so they're fairly self-sustainable, and all the cooking and the hot water in 3 of the houses is from gas. That too could be looked at to remove any costs and to be more self-sustaining. Thank you.